Are you sure you want to post that? It's gonna be online forever.
All right. So here we are, King Noire. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, we're
So
super
nice to
excited
meet
to
you.
have you here.
Likewise.
So you are a master kink dom. How would you describe yourself? What's the elevator pitch of you?
Master fetish trainer, adult performer, artist, musician, entertainer across the board.
What do you mean when you say trainer?
So when a lot of people, they don't even realize that they have fetishes, let alone act on them. So same as you would be like if you go to a gym and you're like, yo, I want to train this muscle, or I want to get more limber. I want to get up my stamina. We do the same thing for people and their fetishes. We help you discover them, help you find ways to live them out and experience them, whether alone or with partners, whatever, and ways to do it in a safe and orgasmic way.
Ooh,
Wow, I love
that.
Because I have a lot of fetishes I'm like personally working on.
Yeah. I think fetishes are like something that we develop over time. So like some we might pick up just through wherever, or some have just been in our brains forever. And it's like so many people are like, I know I'm into this, but what does that mean?
Right.
Or I know I'm into this. How do I tell my partner? Because sometimes we might have something that's brand new for us as a fetish. And you just like say a partner like, yo, I'm into this. They'll be like, where you pick that shit up from? You know what I'm saying? And people have like these ideas already. So we're trying to help.
Yeah. I feel like I have gotten into that like mental space of chicken or egging myself. Like, where did this come from?
Word.
Is it new? Was I born with it? Did I just pick it up one day? And I've said this a couple of times on the podcast, and I'd love to have your input on it. I feel like kinks a lot of the time, or some of the time, however much time, depending on the person, have to do with certain like triggers of yours, and like something that you may have had a bad experience with, you can like reclaim through kink therapy and BDSM. But yeah, what do you think about that?
Some can come from there for sure.
Yeah.
But I think they come from everywhere. Like fetishes and kinks are as unique to the individual as the individual is unique. So like you could pick up something like, I don't know, let's say one day, what is it, LA? But I'm from Jersey, so riding the train and you see somebody wearing something, or somebody has a certain smell. Like it might, I think a lot of time when we think triggers, we think like negative triggers, but it might just set a spark off in your brain like, whoa, I really fucking like boots like that. What do I like about those? How do those boots, why am I responding this way to those boots? And then so somebody will be like, okay, well, do you want to wear them, or do you want to see somebody else wear them? What do you want those? Do you want them to trample you? You want to lick them? You want to kiss them? Or you just want the person to keep them on while you fucking? You know what I'm saying? Like there's so many different avenues. But when it comes to things that have triggered us negatively, I think that fetish training or kink therapy, along with, actual therapy, can help us get through it. Because we have to sometimes confront things in different ways. Some of us confront our fears like, I'm scared of heights, fuck it, I'm gonna go skydiving.
Right.
Other people like, I'm afraid of heights, I'm not getting on a fucking escalator. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So everybody is different, but I do think the people who want to confront certain things through kink therapy, it can be extremely helpful, because now you're controlling the narrative of the thing that triggered you negatively.
Yeah. So what's a little bit about your background and how you've ended up in this space and making this space kind of like an epicenter for you?
For me, I really have always been fucking kinky. Like as far back as I can remember, when I first started being interested in sex and having sex, I was like back in the day, like, yo, can I tie you up though? Yo, let's try this candle wax. You know what I'm saying? Like all that kind of stuff. But then when I was 18, I started getting into, adult modeling and things like that. And I got booked to cuckold somebody. And I started picking up a lot of cuckolding clients, which also led to other people looking for me to dominate them in different ways.
Right.
And I learned, like, it's definitely something that's natural about how I like to engage in sex. But learning from other people, there was like a lot of people basically topping from the bottom and teaching me, hey, when I get spanked, I like this device. You know what I'm saying? Like, I had never been around certain things before. And then with flogging and shit like that, I did martial arts from when I was little. I saw somebody flogging. I was like, pleasurable nunchucks? What the fuck? I need them shits. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was something like, for me, like, I really enjoy the physicality of impact play. And it's like another transference of energy that you can have with your partner. You know what I'm saying? Like, I tell people who've never tried it before, think about when you having sex and your bodies are just clapping together, right? Those send waves through your body, you know? And it's the same kind of thing with impact play, except, I mean, there can be insertion if you want, but it doesn't have to be.
Yeah.
As I want.
Yeah, I know. I was thinking of you in mind, because you want to fuck the flogger. That's lit, though.
Yeah. If anyone's listening and not watching, Noire has brought some really fun toys today,
And the handles are looking pretty fuckable.
Yeah, those are actually our Royal Fetish toy line, our impact instruments. So I said I will be sending one to the show. So if you do wind up fucking it, just tag us.
I'll let you know.
Just tag us. You know what I'm saying?
So Royal Fetish is kind of like an overarching brand.
Yeah, Royal Fetish Films was started by my partner, Jet Set and Jasmine, and I about 10 years ago now.
Gorgeous.
But we also do parties all over the world and events focused around pleasure and fetish and kink and things like that. We do a whole lot. So
Yeah.
kink is your whole life.
I mean, it's part of it.
Mm.
It's part of it. It's definitely a large part of it.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's, for me, sex is an artistic expression. So it's like you can't really get any more creative than it, right? So I've incorporated it in all aspects of my art, and my art is definitely my life for sure.
Mm. Yeah, I was going to say, because you said you were a musician, I'm like, is the music kinky?
It is actually.
Oh, okay.
It
As a
is
matter of
actually.
fact.
I make music for people to get kinky too, because there are a lot of times that we would go to parties or events and we just be like, yo, the music in here is trash.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Yeah.
Why are they
it's
playing
not
Pitbull at the kink
sexy right now.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, there's different vibes and different moods for all kinds of experiences. So that's where I'm at. That's what I'm around. So I want to make music that reflects that.
Cool.
Yeah, we love vibes.
Yeah.
We love vibe curation.
Yeah, I was just going to say that. I love that you talked about the like creativity with sex, because sexual energy is creativity. And I feel like going out into the more alternative sexual routes like kink and BDSM and fetishes, it just opens up more doors for more creativity.
Absolutely.
You can really create your own thing. And as we've seen with so many new, different kinks and fetishes coming to the surface.
For sure. I tell people, if you having sex the same way twice, you're doing it wrong.
I love
We've
that.
been talking about this.
We've been talking about this, yeah.
And it doesn't mean like, yo, the next time we have sex, it's going to be in some crazy situation. It really just could mean just switch up the angle a little bit. See how it feels different for you in this way. How does it please your partner in this way? Then incorporate that when you try something else next time. I think a lot of times people hear that and they're like, oh man, that's a lot of work.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, it should be.
Mm-hmm.
I would imagine you have a good amount of like couples coming to you being like, you know, there's something to discover here. There's things that we both want to learn, but there can be like an awkwardness when it's just the two of them trying to figure out themselves. Do you feel like you're like, just come in and you can see something clearly that they may not be able to? Or how does it work with couples and fetish training?
I love working with couples. It's interesting though. A lot of times with couples, there's one partner that's like, I know all this shit. I just need them to understand that it's okay. You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like that's even more so than like going in there like a relationship counselor and trying to fix their shit. It's usually just as you said, like somebody in there either has like some shame they're holding on to or jealousy. And a lot of times people aren't just jealous of somebody's partner or interest. They're jealous of their other partner's experience. And like, oh, well, maybe that time that she first tried this shit, she liked it, and now what if I don't? It's like, man, stop fucking thinking about that. She wants you to do this shit. Go do it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So it's a lot of times stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I love working with couples though, because like seeing people's love or like lust and energy for one another build and grow, and then adding on to that, that's just so, it's like this beautiful thing.
Yeah, that sounds very rewarding for everyone involved.
I think so.
You're really you're tapped in. I've been reading this book about, rereading this book about how sexuality as a concept and like a term even came about like 200 years ago. And around that time, we conceive of it as being like super repressive society, like the Victorian ages or whatever. But it's like, because we suddenly had this thing that we could study and like make about numbers and intellect, we all of a sudden like compartmentalized it, and that made it easier to like push down, instead of just recognizing that, yeah, it's super expansive. It's hard to even like understand what sexuality is. It's like one of the most like raw parts about us, I think.
Yeah, unfortunately, Victorian and a lot of like, the colonizers of the world did repress sexuality, because in order to control it, it's another form of control. Because if you look at, writings from the Kama Sutra to, Tao Te Ching, shit, even in the Bible and the Quran, there's references to sexuality in the sense of how to engage with somebody, from, the graphic of the Kama Sutra all the way to the spiritual aspects in like the Bible and the Quran. I think also, if you just look at cultures around the world and how sex was presented, you can see sex toys from thousands of years ago. You know what I'm saying? And this is all over the world, even in Europe, like pre-Catholicism. You know what I'm saying? They existed. So if all of our ancestors were engaging in sex and not in a way where, shaming, there's a whole lot that we still got to discover, because shit, they kept us alive this long.
Right.
They were also enjoying it also,
Yeah, humans have been freaky since the beginning.
For sure.
The shit that the cavemen were doing, we have no idea, They had a whole different experience. And then, through people kind of clinging on to religion and using it as a control technique. And sexuality is something that's so wild and like unpredictable sometimes. And I feel like the need to control it in society was like the biggest way to control people in society. So it's kind of interesting now that like after, sexual revolution in the 70s, and now I feel like we're going through a different sort of sexual revolution, but there's a lot of like resistance about it as well. And how does somebody just become normally sexually free, and then how does somebody go to like this type of level where they want someone to stuff their mouth with a heel or get peed on or whatever? Because personally, I feel like a lot more people are discovering their kinks, and one that I've seen most commonly is like the piss kink, of people talking a lot about getting peed on or in. So do you
I love it.
You love it?
Yeah. I was gonna say for that first part of what you said, just about like rediscovering, like go look at art pre-Catholicism from all over the world, whether it's Greece, Rome, West Africa, from like Mali and Songhai all the way to India, China, like all over the world. Just look at the art that predated colonization in certain parts of the world, and for Europe pre-Catholicism, and you're gonna see some freaky ass shit, and you're gonna enjoy it. But
we're trying to get back there.
But I think for me, the best I ever heard it put was one of my subs who loved golden showers was just like, I love it when you piss on me because it truly feels like you own me. I was like, that was the sexiest shit I've ever heard in regards to golden showers, because it's like, some people like it for
disrespect.
Like the disrespect. Some people like it for the ownership. Some people like it because like, this is filthy. This is some filthy shit. This is awesome. You know what I'm saying? Or something like, you were told it's so bad
Right.
and now you're doing
The
it.
taboo.
Yeah, the taboo aspect. So I think like whatever brings you to pissing or getting pissed on, you in the right place.
I love that. Peeing is, I have dabbled in it for sure. Like I remember, remember in high school or whatever, like asking my boyfriend to pee on me in the shower. I feel like I've always been into it because it's like, it's a next level of closeness. Like there's something really intimate about peeing. Like we've all spent a lot of time peeing by ourselves, and like to bring somebody else in on that, like it could be as simple as that, of just feeling closer to your partner or being owned by somebody. Where do you think this comes from in people, and especially for listeners who might not understand why anybody would want to feel owned by somebody? Where do you think that comes from?
To be somebody's possession is sexy, or to possess somebody, whether you're thinking about it in like the spiritual sense, like, oh, they've possessed my soul. I can't stop thinking about this person. I yearn for this person. I long for this person in that kind of way. Or the possession of like, was it? I'm trying to remember. I think it was Bhagavad Gita, but it's like this other book where it was talking about in ancient India, the most romantic way to get married was if your husband like stole you away instead of bringing like goats and shit. You know what I mean? Like, and it's like it was considered romantic in that way. I mean, obviously now that it's would be a consensual thing though. Like, you're gonna meet me at this place and then we're gonna like run away together. You know? So there's like that kind of thing where I think people are thinking like, this person wants me so much, they have to have me, they have to own me. And when somebody relinquishes a certain amount of control, someone's like, oh, I want you to just order my food for me, or choose what I wear, or all these things. It's like someone has to really pay attention to you to order your food, because if they're not and you got a peanut allergy, you fucked. Right? You know what I'm saying? Like there's certain little things, and I always tell people that the sexiest thing about me, like for me, when it comes to like owning a sub, is I have to really know you, because how else are you gonna feel safe around me? I know, okay, like little things. You the kind of person that's like, you want to be able to let go of all things, so I have to make sure when we out and about, like you ain't wandering off or you get lost in the moment type shit. Or somebody else might be like, I always am so focused, laser focused on all things. I need someone to tell me not to be.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like those kind of moments that you have to share to understand like, oh, I see her getting too focused on work right now. It's time to let go of that. Let's do something else.
Yeah.
Or you're punished when you have that kind of moment. A punishment that we agree on.
Yeah.
You know, so like there's so many different levels of it. You have to be in such communication with somebody. You have to learn so much about somebody. And they had to be able to allow you to take control of them.
Yeah. So much of it is about control. And I feel like maybe especially as women, like we feel like we have to have a lot of control most of the time. So to find someone that you feel comfortable with and relinquish that and be able to go out and not be worried about if a car's coming because someone has got it under control for you, or you don't have to think about what to order. There's that idea of not having to worry or think, and like security in a dominant and submissive relationship that both people really enjoy.
And I think when it and then in reverse, because we live in such a patriarchal society, right? Some men are so used to being in complete and utter control, even when they don't want that control, even when they don't deserve that control, to be able to let go of control and have a woman tell you when, where, what, how, why. You know what I'm saying? Like that, I see it with all people. And that's kind of like when it does get into those conversations you have to have with somebody about, okay, well, what's your comfort level? Where do you start? And I like the example you used of having your boyfriend piss on you in the shower. Like that's a good way to maybe to dabble, as you said, you know what I'm saying? Because you go to the extreme the first time.
Yeah.
It could be a bit much for somebody.
Yeah.
Giving or receiving.
For sure.
So it's like those little baby steps definitely help.
I think that so many people are curious and excited about BDSM. And I feel like the first big societal wave of this came after 50 Shades of Grey. Like all of a sudden everyone...
Shit got me mad work.
I'm sure. It was a good business thing for you. I think people are like more and more interested in it, and also like, you know, just thinking about Pornhub, the more commonly searched for and viewed videos are those that are a little bit more rough and have more intense things going on. And I think that in the content world, a lot of people want to make content like that for business purposes. Also some personal reasons, but I think that being a legit professional dom, if I were you, I would be frustrated with like the content boys that are kind of doing everything wrong and maybe just abusing women on camera and calling themselves a dom. Like, do you feel like that dilutes the legitimacy of what you do and what you've dedicated your life to do?
I find that across the board with anything, not even things I engage in. I think we live in a time where a lot of people are on some fake it till you make it shit. You know, so the thing is with BDSM is if you do it wrong, you can really hurt somebody. You can really fuck somebody up psychologically, you know? And if there's no consent involved, it's not BDSM anymore.
Right.
It's assault.
Exactly.
So for people who engage in it in the content world, we try to tell people, you know what I'm saying? Like, for people who are just watching, you might have missed, but we've had at least 2 meetings prior to this scene.
Yeah.
We've had a performer-to-performer conversation. We've had a production meeting. And then we've, on set, are going to have a pre-scene interview.
Yeah.
And each one, we're reaffirming what we're going to do. We're speaking about safety words and safety for the act. Because, like, let's say you're doing something like rope and suspension and things like that. You have to have someone who is truly a professional because you can really, really injure somebody off of that, right? So when people are just doing it to do, rough sex is rough sex. If you are in a consensual scene or relationship with somebody and that's what y'all do, that's what y'all do. But a domination and submission doesn't particularly have to involve sex at all. You know, so I feel you. Like, a lot of people gravitate towards those type of scenes and extreme type of scenes, and the professionals out there to do it, they are having these same kind of conversations that I just spoke of. And if someone is not having those kind of conversations with you, they are not about it. Do not film with them. Do not take your safety in harm's way in that kind of situation, for sure.
Yeah, we were talking about how easy it is to work with the wrong person based on just like, you know, you see the people that they're working with and you're like, oh, this person's probably great. And I think that can be really like sneakily dangerous in this industry. And for someone like you who's having these production meetings and making sure everything is set up beforehand, obviously it would be like there are no big surprises in the shoots that you do. Everything is clean.
We go through checklists. We do all of that. And I think definitely now, especially if you are going to do anything BDSM, to make sure you have a third and or fourth person on set when you do it, even if you're shooting a content trade on a cell phone.
Yeah.
You know, you should have somebody else there to recognize your safety word, especially if you're going to be restrained in any type of way or any kind of sensory deprivation. You know, go the extra mile if you got homegirl or dude you trust to be in that situation. It's important. And if the other performer is like, whoa, then that's already a red flag.
Yeah. Yeah. I unfortunately recently had a situation happen that somebody in the industry that, you know, has just been really infiltrating himself there and being kind of insulated by bigger creators. And there's been a bunch of accusations about this person, but everybody kind of just was like, I feel like it's like a hive mentality, self-gaslighting that was happening or surrounding this person. But so like I go to their house to shoot. It's the first time we've ever spent one-on-one time together. They're immediately saying that they don't want to film something and they want to do something more off camera. And I'm like, no, that's not what I'm here for. In the beginning, I was having more control over the situation, and it was like I was trying to just do like a normal hookup video, and I could tell that just wasn't working. And so I was like, I am willing to relinquish a little control to like have a video be made because I'm here, and just to kind of cleanly go over all the red flags and everything that happened. Like, all of my nose were broken. I was there for 3 hours. There's 7 minutes of content. He was like open hand impact, hitting me off the bat, like using CNC words, using the R word immediately, like totally changed your brain chemistry. And then there's different trauma responses, and I, didn't decide which one that I was going to have, and I fawned, like, and so all the nose were broken, all the physical abuse and the crazy shit all happened off camera. And I just was left feeling really confused and like psychologically slanted from it. And I'm thankful that I, went and saw friends and they could tell. Otherwise, it would have maybe taken me longer to have realized like what happened. And I feel like it's so important to talk about this in a legitimate way, because I think this is happening to a lot of people. Yeah. Like seeing somebody being reputable online or having a big platform and going to their house and then there's loaded guns everywhere. It's like, what is happening? And I just wish that I was just seeing more people like you doing the work rather than somebody with a POV situation happening. And I'm not going to say like directly the name, but it is a POV creator, and they think they're taking people to heaven, but they're taking people to hell for sure. And this happened recently, and I've been trying to be like surgical about it and how to handle it. And there's a part of me that's kind of like craving a redo with a real professional, kind of all ready to reclaim the experience. So when you go into a BDSM session where you kind of know that it's about reclaiming some sort of bad situation, like how do you go about that?
Sure. I want to say I hate that you experienced that. And I do appreciate you sharing, because I know there are a lot of people within our industry that are having some really bad experiences. And within the nature of kind of like how the industry itself has shifted more to content creation, even for performers who work with major studios to be able to maintain their, fan sites and all of that kind of shit, it does sometimes put us in precarious positions to have to make those kind of choices.
Yeah.
And have those kind of trigger responses. And I think that when people are asking me now about shoots, I'm leaning more towards trying to shoot at locations that either are like shoot spaces and things like that, so that there are more people who at least know where we are.
Yeah.
That's one thing I think is important. And then also I think it is important, especially for women in the industry, to be able to share with one another what their experiences are with other performers. I know that there's like a couple of groups and things like that, and I think that that's very important. But I also think that it is important to hold people accountable for things that happen as well. When it comes to CNC type scenes, I have done more with clients than I've done on camera, because on camera, being able to do it in a way that also your fans or people watching it will still you already know, I mean, we're filming it.
Right.
But so that certain things that might happen in it are not also triggering them at the same time, and being able to put warnings on it and things like that. But when I do work with somebody like that in a session, it's really important that that's not our first session. Our first session has to be something else. So that way you can at least know in that first session, and normally I would say that's a down the road kind of thing, but where somebody can truly understand, like, I am safe here. My safety word is respected. My privacy is respected. Like, going down the list of all the things. If it's something on camera, I do think it's important to have a pre and post scene interview, even if it's not put with the actual scene.
Yeah.
So that way if something does need to be spoken about afterwards, like just on how you're feeling, not if you were like, oh, it went off key or something like that, but just to be able to say like, this is how I'm feeling now, so that you can be able to go back to look at it later and follow up with yourself, or follow up if you have a therapist or somebody or someone that you speak to be able to go through all of the steps in it. I also say you might not want to recreate a bad situation to a T. It's more about the actual reclaiming with a new experience, but you don't want to go through like every single thing, because you might get caught up in that
Right.
as well.
Yeah, it's such a complex thing to navigate.
And it might take different ways of doing it, like not particularly doing a straight up like this scene is a CNC scene, right? It might be, I want to try one scene where I'm blindfolded, because then you're losing a certain amount of control, but you still have your arms available, you still have your legs available, you can still hear what's going on, and if at any point you just need to take that shit off, you know. So it might just take small increments to be able to get to a bigger one.
Yeah, I feel like I've always enjoyed the concept of BDSM and practicing it in my relationships, and I enjoy rough sex as well. And that's why it's like a huge bummer when something happens and you're like, oh, don't taint this for me, you know? Like, it can be kind of hard to get back into that space or whatever. Where do you think your likeness towards like BDSM and rough sex comes from personally?
I think a lot of it definitely comes from society, and just being a woman in the world, but also from I had a very, very enmeshed relationship with my father, so I get a lot of it from there. And like, I've been thinking a lot, because this happened to you, about why these men oftentimes like flourish in this industry. And I know when I started doing sex work, I was much more of a people pleaser. I had sex that way. I was like, I don't have a lot of boundaries. I love rough sex. So that energy invited a lot of like coercive men into my life, including this person. And I've finally started learning that when people are coercive to you, like just in life, like that used to make me really horny, because it mimicked so much of my relationship with my dad, and it made me feel like just a little scared, which is a horny feeling for me in a lot of ways. But I've learned now that I think I've just started building a little more self-respect, and that like people who are coercive off camera to you in real life are oftentimes like into really just non-coercion, or into coercion, into raping people, unfortunately. But there's like definitely a sense of like danger that those situations invite to, that can be really like exciting. And
there's definitely a safe way to experience fear and danger, you know. And it's like so like for the first time I got suspended for the first time in a scene recently, just because I like pressure, you know what I'm saying? So like feeling the rope, I was like, I can't get and I'll explain, for me, I can't be handcuffed or tied up, because I was beaten by the police at a protest once, where they had tied us all up and just beat us. So for me, I'm not comfortable with that. But I wanted to kind of like work through that feeling of restraint. So I was like, yo, do my chest. And I like climbing on shit and all that upside down pull-ups and stuff. So I was like, yeah, you can suspend me. But there's definitely a part where I was like, yo, if I just fall right now, I'm gonna crack my face on the floor. Healthy fear. But you know, I have a professional who knows what they're doing. That rigged me up. And they also had, you know, their scissors and their knife if they needed to cut me out if I freaked out at any time. Right? So like there's something for every single fetish and kink that involves some sort of fear or danger, to also let you know, like, yeah, I have a natural kind of like fight or flight moment when somebody spanks me or something, right? But to know that they're not also gonna punch me in the spine, you know, because I'm safe, you know. And I think that is extremely important. And I think, unfortunately, within our industry, because there's not any regulation, it is a place where people who are abusive think, I can maintain there for a while, because there's also companies who are willing, if they make money off of somebody, to overlook a lot of bullshit. And then also you have performers, company executives, directors, so on and such forth, who really hate women.
Yeah, truly.
So they're like, I might like to fuck women, or I'm attracted to women, but I hate women. So when bad things happen to women within our industry, they have no feeling towards it, because they're like, F her, whatever. Like, I think that there is like certain language that even tells us that within our industry. Like, people ask, hey, do you shoot boy, girl? I'm like, no, I'm a grown up. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you engage in age play, like, yeah, that's what you'll be called on camera. But overall, I'm a man. This is a woman. But because they refer, like a lot of men, they use that. Hey, girls, you'll hear like groups of women who are making lots of money be called at certain events like, come on, girls. I'm like, ooh, that's not respectful.
Yeah.
So like, and it's little things like that.
And all of society, men are just
for sure.
told that being feminine makes
Soft.
them,
Or it's soft, it's lesser.
their whole life.
Yeah, most men don't even fathom women as complete human beings.
Yeah.
We're always told, just like you said, in society, that women are lesser.
Right. And it's hard to talk about these things without people kind of like painting a huge broad stroke with all sex work and all porn is bad. If we're admitting like there are bad people in this industry, but there are bad people in every industry.
Facts.
And that people don't respond the same. There's a couple of shitty dentists and it's like, oh, the dentistry is fucked. That doesn't happen the same way it does for us.
The problem is, though, because of how people view women already, they already try to blame the victim or over-sexualize the victim. Like, whoa, she shouldn't have been wearing that. So now you also put somebody in the position of sex work. Then they're like, oh, well,
She
of
was asking
course.
for it. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it's so extreme. But it should be in no matter what. I mean, sex work is work, but we still have to get people to understand that part, right?
Yeah.
But at least within our community, we should be trying to protect one another instead of overlooking fucked up shit.
Yeah. And I think there has been a lot of things that have been overlooked in this industry. And I think like the influx of OnlyFans and people that weren't in the bubble of mainstream coming in has been has had a positive ripple effect in the industry of people kind of being like, hold up, wait a second, this is fucked.
Word.
I mean, we're so privileged and blessed to be able to talk about this, because if we had like agents already,
right, we wouldn't even
nothing.
be able to
Yep.
tell the story. Or
And that's one of the other things, though. A lot of times, I heard somebody talking about this. Actually, it was Dominique Foxworth was talking about signing contracts in the NFL, and he was like, your agent has to work with that team again. So how is that agent really your representative? And I was like, think about that shit. Like, that's even more true in porn. You know what I'm saying? And at least in sports, they work within different sports. If you're a porn agent, you're pretty much only an agent for porn. So if something happens to a performer on set for this company that you're always sending your performers to, unfortunately, they're going to try to find a way to smooth the shit over or overlook it. And a lot of the times, that's why so many people in our industry get fucked up, because it's like the people on set don't want to say shit because they don't want to fuck up their company. Your agent, who's supposed to be your advocate, wants to make more money with them, and they look at us as disposable anyway. So it's like layers to it. And then you also have, unfortunately, other performers or sex workers who are like, if they don't want that spot, I'm going to get that spot, so I ain't going to say shit.
period.
It's money.
Yeah.
Money.
There's always going to be somebody who is like more willing to look past those things than you.
It's an unfortunate thing, and it's like one of those things that hopefully more of us are like, yeah, but at the end of the day, I want my fellow performers to be safe.
Right.
Yeah. And that's how we're feeling, I think.
Yeah, I mean, after it happened, I was just like wanting to just bury and move on. But I mean, I feel like this happened to me. It's already been a bit of a catalyst, and everyone that I've told, which has not been very many people, they immediately guess who it is. and like they have 3 stories to tell based on this person. So that has been validating in kind of like a shitty way of like, fuck, this is really bad. But also like I haven't even had to tell anyone who it is. So I feel like if it's this obvious and blatant and ongoing, something needs to be done. And do I want to connect my brand to talking about any of these topics? No. Is it good for business? No. But it's good for my soul and other people's safety. So just got to do it. And I don't want it to be like hindering in any way to anybody, including myself. Like I want to explore in these worlds. It doesn't mean that I'm broken or, you know, anything. And I think that that's an important thing to remind people is like, even if something happened that wasn't so great, there's so much more life to live, and you can explore these things even if you didn't have the best experience with it.
For sure.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, it's unfortunate that people hate women so much, and I mean, damn.
It's insane. It's same kind of thing though, going back to what we were talking about just in regards of control.
Yeah.
You know, it's divide and conquer tactics all the way down, you know, keep people pitted against one another in order to make sure that you can control shit. And I do hope that people can see from our work, you know, because we make sure with Royal Fetish Films we have women behind the camera as well. You know, I'm seeing that more in the industry, which is a beautiful thing. Like, it's not just the male gaze all the time.
Yeah.
But we have women behind the camera, queer folk behind the camera, BIPOC folk behind the camera, to have just different perspectives. You know, and I do agree with you that people who have come into sex work, especially over the last like 3 years, because so many people came into it from other industries and places, they were like, whoa, my HR would not let this fly. You know what I'm saying? So I think that also will start to make companies that want to survive fix their shit.
Yeah.
You know, but it is also going to take at some point performers being advocates, not just for themselves, but for each other. So respect on speaking up. Like, we need people to do so.
Yeah. I mean, we were talking about how there's like, there's this polarity in, we have a lot of control. We don't have agents. The people that we work with are completely based on who we want to work with, when and
we're
how.
financially independent.
Right, exactly.
Really important.
It's great, and we come from this place of privilege, and you would think that, you know, you wouldn't find yourself in this type of situation or whatever, but it's like, it's kind of the wild, wild west shooting content. You know, you go based on who you've seen them work with, and that can be filled with danger. So it's like, yeah, we have all this agency, but at the same time, when something goes wrong, it's like so much easier to blame yourself too, because like you chose to work with this person, and
but they ain't had a right to do nothing to you that you didn't consent to.
I know.
It's like it's the same as if you go on a date with somebody. Yeah, I wanted to go on this date, but I ain't say you could do all that shit. You know what I'm saying? So I think it's definitely, I think, like, to the point where people need to line up things in the way I was said earlier, like to be able to ensure safety. And automatically, like, there's people, and this is as a man, when I'm speaking to somebody, hey, I would like to get on a call to discuss this possible shoot. If someone is blowing me off, or like, I don't got no time for that, or
Step one.
let's just go shoot. Let's just meet up and shoot. And I'm like, I'm good. Because I know you're not even putting the value into my time that I'm putting into yours. So if you can have, like, the same way when I see clients, if you're not having a consultation with me, I'm not just going to show up at your door. You know, so it's important to have a certain criteria to at least, I mean, and unfortunately, you can never say that someone who's fucked up isn't going to do some fucked up shit. You know what I'm saying? But hopefully we'll be able to catch it earlier and earlier.
Yeah, I like that it just feels like you require a lot of intention behind the shoots that you do or the sessions that you do with clients. And I think that is like just so important.
Yeah.
Intention is everything.
Yeah.
And like, I feel like the rat race of content, like someone might be like, no, I don't have, let's just meet on the 17th and do this thing, you know? Like people are so cluttered in their life, and they might not give something the amount of intention that is required for everything to be safe and fun.
For sure.
Yeah, I definitely like coming from the strip club into content. This was something that Emma talked to me a lot about, but I was filming with people kind of with like reckless abandon for a while before she was basically like, dude, like we're not at the club. You don't have to hustle constantly. Like you can do things that you enjoy with only people you like. And I was like, whoa, that's so cool. So yeah, that's what I've been focusing on. Turn down the danger just a little bit.
Yeah, I feel like I've always been so picky with people that I work with because, I don't know, men. I have not been as picky with women that I work with, for sure, which sometimes I probably should have been. But yeah, with men especially, it's like, geez, you don't deserve to know what my body feels like. Like, I require a lot of intention behind people, and you know, for that this can happen to somebody like me who has been so picky and been so intentional, it can happen to anybody, and it will keep on happening, you know, even if this person is taken out of porn, they may just find deeper and darker corners to do this, and even more violently, and like, you know, that's fear. But yeah, I think that focusing and finding the right people in this industry can be hard, but it's so rewarding, and it can really restore your faith in the whole production of everything. Sure. And I'm so grateful that you are so open to come and talk to us about this, because, you know, you focus everything on safety and security. So for me to have you on here and talk about the opposite of that, I really appreciate you being open to discussing it.
Perfect person to have on.
Perfect person to have on. Yeah.
Definitely for everybody out there, if you are interested in exploring your fetishes and doing BDSM, seek out professionals. There are really, really awesome classes that you could go to at your local dungeon. You know, we provide information online. We also do classes all over the world. So, you know,
talk to me about...
There are a whole lot of great people out there. What's up?
Talk to me about some of these classes and parties you're talking about around the world.
I know. Let's have an online forever party.
Yeah.
We actually set up. We're gonna be doing London in May. So we do a couple things. Sometimes we screen some of our films, but we also do classes on impact play, on choking, on sensory deprivation, like running down the list, you know, smacking, like a whole bunch of different things, just as people like to do it. People like getting choked, people like to choke, but do you know how to actually choke somebody that you're not going to crush their larynx? Like, that's an important thing that you need to know, important. You know? So I tell everybody, like, it stops being sexy when the ambulance is on the way. Trust me.
Yeah.
Trust me. It wasn't worth it, you know? So do it the right way, and you ensure, you know, that you and your partner will both be able to be safe. And the whole time is sexy, you know? So Justin, Jasmine, and I started working together like 10 years ago doing fantasy flight parties. So we used to do parties for couples and singles, everything from birthday parties to divorce parties, bachelorette, all that. Yo, divorce parties are lit.
I'm sure.
People hold back sometimes at bachelor and bachelorette parties, but at divorce parties, they ain't got
nothing
shit to hold back
Yeah.
no more. You know what I'm saying? So those joints are lit. But I think I love parties, period. But I love being able to work, like just how I said, with couples. Like there's parties that I will remember couples from those parties forever. There are people who have reached out to us, been like, oh, we got pregnant, you know what I'm saying? And we were like, oh, party. Shit. You know, I always want to know, like, at the party, after the party, how
you were there.
You know, I'm like, King is a great name. But I think being able to experience, like, because fans will always be like, oh, and we saw this, and then when you did this in this movie, like, or this scene or whatever, I want to do that. I want to learn how to do that or something like that. You know, like those are always fun. So yeah, we need to do one out here in LA. It's been a while since we did one at Sanctuary LAX, like right before the pandemic. That was really fun.
Probably went off right before shit closed down. Damn.
Yeah, it was lit.
Are you on the East Coast now?
Yeah, we're based out of Tampa, Florida.
You're so cute.
Thank you. But we
I know we were talking
we
about
shoot
like,
here often though.
what if we both got dommed by him at the same time?
That
Just
sounds like a plan.
Flogged. Yeah. I like this type of stuff. So let's talk about what we got going on over here.
Sure,
'Cause
sure.
For me, with the untrained naked eye,
Let me move this mic a little
seeing
bit.
various types of flogging.
Some leather. I'm seeing some metal.
Yeah, leather and metal.
So we actually have metal floggers too, but I didn't bring them with me today.
Whoa. Like the part of
Like-
it that you.
So like the flogger is actually like this kind of chain, which is really nice for not just for impact play, but also for temperature play.
Yeah.
So when you were talking about like you would want to fuck these, I also said, I like to put the handles into the freezer, and then you could use them on the body too, because then if I spank you up pretty good,
You
also
need to
it can
cool
also be
down.
like a nice little cool down to show that your dom cares.
Oh.
But so these are rubber.
Oh.
can try that. So every kind of material just has a different feel to it. So they're heavy, but because of the rubber, it still has like a nice little sting to it.
Oh, I'm sure it does.
This is leather, but it's very thin. So those are extra, like an extra sting.
Meow.
This is actually my favorite toy that we have.
Ooh.
So everybody who likes belts, it's like a folded piece of leather,
Nice.
smacker, but because of the weight of the handle, you could be, like you said, very intentional with it.
Yes. Yeah, this looks fun. I feel like a lot of people like
Belts,
play,
bro.
especially if they maybe it was used on them as a
Literally.
child. This is
Your
nice.
dad
That's
taking
like
off
a
his
that's
belt
like
to
a
beat you.
reclaiming kind of thing.
You need to relax.
Don't kink shame me.
And then these are suede. So these actually, I tell people these are like a massage, like the feel of these.
This is like nunchuck vibes
Yep.
with the two of them. Oh, this is nice. Yeah. And there's seemingly like a lot of, what do you call these, strands?
Falls.
What is it?
Falls.
Falls.
Yeah.
It seems like there are more falls in this one. Does it make it more impactful?
Yeah, it's more of a thud,
Oh, okay.
but because it's suede, also suede is such like a, I don't know, for me it's like a relaxing kind of feel to it. So those I like to tell people, like if I'm gonna warm you up, I like to warm people up with those because they're like, they got like a tranquil spank to them, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And also like the nunchuck, you could Florentine them really well. So
Yeah, it feels like I want to use
baby.
both of them at the same time.
You're very connected to your body and to sensations and how things feel.
If
Sounds
I
like.
didn't like know any better, I would think that this is all like horse equipment.
well, I mean, riding crops,
Yeah, yeah,
you know. There's some of the I know like people who are into that kind of play, like horse play, where they like to get ridden on and all that kind of stuff. They like the impact of different things, and they'll use either like butt plugs with the horse tail, and then you could also use that for impact, you know.
Do you think humans
That's
ever take
hot.
it too far? Like we're anti kink shaming, but do you think that is there any instance where kink shaming is important?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. And also the reason I say this is because some people call certain things a kink or a fetish, and they're not. So like
Yes.
race play.
Yes.
Like for me, it's not play, because right now there are still disparities within society that are pretty clear and evident that you can't really play around with, you know. And I always question when people who are into that, like if white folk are into that, like what are you getting out of this? Like I
Right.
can understand, you know, same kind of thing for certain black folk who are like, you know, I reclaim from a dominant position or this, that, or like, I can't knock people, but I do think when people consider race play, it's not a fetish because a human being can't be a fetish. A fetish is anything that we are sexually aroused by that's not directly related to procreation. But it's usually like inanimate objects or an activity, not a human being. So like if someone's like, I fetishize you for your red hair, like No. Like, people can have a hair fetish, but if they're specifically targeting like the part of you, of your humanity can't be a fetish. It can't be removed. So
Damn, I have never heard this before.
That
is
was really
mind-blowing.
well explained and
Yeah.
just offers so much clarity, because I feel like there's a lot of murky, and for non-professionals in this space, it's just things get murky. And
For
yeah,
sure.
no, you can't have a fetish for somebody. It makes perfect sense.
yeah, and I think, when we talk about our industry and when we talk about like things that people let go, the same way people hate women, people hate black people. They hate us, but same way they make money off women, they make money off us too. And the fetishization of race within our industry, like, we've only seen within the last 5 years, people stopping to have like, oh, I'll sleep with a black man for this extra amount of money as opposed to this white man, regardless of dick size or years in the industry or whatever. Like, that's literally like some racial caste system shit.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And that's only been within the last 5 years that's kind of been dropped from a lot of people's shit. And then when you do that, I always say, like, yo, when someone's busting their nut or rubbing one out, like, your mind is completely fucking open. It's like one of those times when you're like your most authentic self. You're watching the shit that actually turns you on. You're feeling all those feels and all that. That's why sometimes after someone busting out, they're like, oh shit, what I just do? You know what I'm saying? come back to earth or whatever. But it's like, if things are pumped into your brain at that time, like I never remember. I think my brain doesn't want to remember the name of this company, but they had this one company where it was two white women who were dressed as police officers, and they would pull over black men, and basically it's like a rape scene. It's like, you want to get out of this ticket, you gotta fuck this cop type shit. And all of it was always black men. It was never anything else. So, like, to me, you're making light. Like, I've actually in my life lost 2 people who I've known to police terrorism, to police brutality. So you're making light of that. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're fetishizing pain.
Mm-hmm.
You're fetishizing oppression. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, I don't see that as play anymore.
No.
That's real as fuck. So it's like the same kind of thing when you do speak of, like, if there's scenes that people talk about where it's like, I didn't consent to this. So if you're selling that isn't porn anymore.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So I think that it's important to work with companies who respect people's humanity. It's important to work with performers who do as well.
Mm-hmm.
And those small incremental changes will start to make a better industry for everybody. And then hopefully from there, we could fold that over into our industry actually being recognized, so that, people can get things like healthcare without having to lie about what it is you do for a living, or
Right.
be
A
able
bank
to
account.
not have to
A bank
worry.
account, housing.
Word. I was just
Yeah.
about to say, not have to worry if a bank's going to flip on you tomorrow.
Yeah.
Like, there's so many things within our industry, but everybody else benefits from our industry. They watch our industry.
They're obsessed with our industry.
Exactly.
Truly.
So it should be able to be a safer place for everybody, but also a place that we can just exist and be okay without having to worry about all that other bullshit.
It's crazy how, like, so many things that are wildly popular, like, newer reality shows where it's like softcore porn, like
Yeah.
Too Hot to Handle. It's all about hooking up or not hooking up, and they got the nighttime goggle cam going, and you can like see the stroking under the blanket, like you can see sex happening, and they don't allow anybody on those shows if you have an OnlyFans, but they all make them after once they're famous, right? It's this interesting thing where like society is obsessed with porn and obsessed with sex, but the actual professionals in it are just.
Well, they probably don't let them get their own OnlyFans because they want to make all the money off of them possible, for sure.
Yeah.
But I think it's interesting because, like, you'll see like Pornhub mentioned on, I don't know, like Stephen Colbert or something like that, or OnlyFans mentioned on like these shows that are mass consumed the most, or I don't know, like fucking like the Today Show or something like that will mention something like OnlyFans, and you're like, So if they're speaking about it on the most open possible shit, then they're acknowledging like this is a part of mainstream culture now.
Right.
You know, and there are performers who are, you mention their name, everybody know who they are. You know what I'm saying? Or all these kind of situations where you might even see our culture, like sex worker culture, kind of get sucked into the mainstream in music videos or fashion, sitcoms, all this shit, and it's just like, yo, that's cool. Now let us just exist.
Right. Yeah. You can love us, but then actually love us.
Yeah, it shouldn't be like, to me, I think sex is one of those things where as long as it's an age appropriate, consensual situation, like you good.
Yeah.
But I think kind of like how you said, like a lot of people are in the proverbial closet, and not that they're queer or coming out in that way, but they're afraid to admit like, yeah, I like watching gangbangs.
Mm-hmm.
So then when they see a queer person, they hate extra on that queer person because they're living so openly with who they are.
Yes.
And they're repressing all of this shit for whatever reason that then they lash out.
Right. Like gay people really shouldn't make you that upset.
At all.
Something else is happening.
Trans people should not be making you flip out to the level that you're flipping out right now. I don't understand where that comes from.
I know. Well, I mean, I think that we do kind of in a way.
Well,
like you know, they're really deep in that. They just keep digging in that closet.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I'm so thankful for, like, that's another thing is that trans porn is one of the most globally popular categories, but yet they're not nearly booked as much. They're not nearly as like respected as much as performers, but also as people, obviously.
Right.
And like, how long until that flips, you know? It's like we're just all waiting on the world to change.
Well,
doing our best.
I'm still interested to see if they're paying black women at the same level they pay white women in the companies too.
Yeah.
Because that is a huge disparity as well. So it's like you go on set and they have somebody who does not have the color of makeup for your face and shit. Like, but you're literally here as a makeup artist and you know who you was gonna work with. You know, so it's like those kind of things as well within our industry. And then it's, especially with trans porn, I think the way that it's searched, and then now you see all these people making laws against trans people getting care.
Porn reflects society.
Yeah,
Society
it's
reflects porn.
micro,
back
macro
and forth.
cosming.
It's insane though. It's like you're telling somebody that they can't do what they want to do with their bodies to feel like a full person. Like just if you break it down to the most basic shit, like how could you live with yourself as a person, especially someone who makes policy? You're gonna tell your constituents that they can't take medication that they need. Like, that's crazy.
And why can somebody, you know, not to say this man's name, but Joe Rogan is allowed to take testosterone, and like, you know, cis people do a lot of hormonal and like gender affirming hormonal therapy.
That's facts.
And like they're allowed to do it and it's completely fine. We can take estrogen, that's completely fine, but if it goes the other way, then there's a huge problem. It just doesn't make any sense. And so many people, I think, just don't want to admit that they are engaging in hormonal therapy and like they are maybe on the trans spectrum of experience.
Yeah, I definitely think that the people who are very anti people expressing themselves sexually are just so angry on the inside that they are not able to live out whatever truth that is that they are looking to live out. Because I have to give so much respect to everybody within the queer community, because it's like, you know, you can hide something. You know what I'm saying? You can hide that thing, but you're like, nah, fuck it. I'm gonna live nice and loud for the world.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So like, I respect it, and I think that all the people who identify as straight and cis and all of that kind of shit, like you can live your straight cis life out loud too. You know what I'm saying? And you don't have to hate somebody else
right
in order to live your life.
Right. If you hate gayness, just be straighter.
Be straighter.
if you're so worried about it.
If you hate gayness, it writes itself.
Then you're gay. Oh my goodness. Well,
so King Noire, what's the most forbidden sex you've ever had?
well,
I'm very curious to hear
The
the
most
answer to this.
forbidden sex I've
Most
ever had.
taboo.
Taboo.
Yeah, take it as you will.
I don't know, because I don't really have too much taboo. I mean, I guess the things that I've done that I guess like freak the most people out, or I've gotten the most hate for, would be the way to run
Love
it.
it. Let's go there.
Definitely, I've gotten weird messages for working with trans women. Those have been the ones that I've gotten the weirdest shit for. And then I guess in the vanilla world, it was piss. Like that's definitely the one that the most people that I know have responded to me like, you really, like, after you pissed on her, like, then what? like we washed off or fucked or did something, and then we went and ate dinner. Like, it wasn't like we didn't discard of each other after that shit. But like that one, I feel like a lot of people I know weren't fully able to get their head around. But those things to me aren't taboo. So that's why I'm like, I don't know.
You're like, I've actually never had taboo sex in my
I
life.
don't even know what I would define as taboo, because it'd be some shit that I'm like, nah, I shouldn't do that. I don't know. You have to run me like a list or something. I'm like,
Yeah. Well, like,
Okay.
you know, she fucked in a church. That's like technically like a forbidden place or whatever.
I have done that.
He's like, I fucked in the pew.
Holy water.
In the holy water, yeah.
Oh,
I went
man.
and found the wine and the bread.
It's funny because I mean I did that shit when I was young, and it wasn't. I was just there. I didn't even think of the shit as like I shouldn't be doing this. I was like,
I'm
how
spending a
can
lot
we
of
do
time in
this here?
place.
Like, I don't know. I think some of the things that people consider taboo is I would probably go by what other people are like mad at me for doing.
Yeah, that's fair. Everyone takes it a different way.
They do.
Yeah,
They do.
everyone answers it differently. How do you feel about, you know, you've been in this world for a long time, and for most amount of that time, maybe all of it, you know, it's been published in some way or another, online or in video form, whatever. How do you feel about being like encapsulated in the content that you've put out there?
I love that shit.
Yeah.
I am such an exhibitionist.
Yeah.
It's a turn on for me. Like I have certain firsts that I've done on camera that I'm like, no, that was literally the first time I ever did that shit. Not just first on camera, first time I ever did that shit. So like I can look back and be like, see how much I've grown since I first did that
Yeah.
shit, or like try to remember what I was feeling in that moment or whatever. I love it. And then people will hit me up about old scenes, and I'm like, oh, well, now you got to catch up.
Yeah, that's awesome. So you love the fact that your dick and everything else is online forever.
I do.
Yeah.
I do. And I feel like it's a good thing too, because if I wasn't out there like the way I'm out there, how would I meet all the amazing people that I get to fuck?
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? Because they out there doing the same thing. So we could run each other shit like, oh, yeah, I like that. Okay. Not into that. And then be like, hey, this is me. And they could do the same thing. I feel like I've always been extremely, extremely sexual. So it's kind of like I fell into the right world.
Yeah, I feel like we all feel that.
Yeah, I feel like this industry is more blessed for you.
Yes.
And I'm
Thank
very
you.
glad to know you better and have your energy in this world.
Yeah.
For real.
Like, well,
What a great like first time to meet somebody, and I'm excited to grow this relationship further.
oh shit. And it's encapsulated on.
Yeah, it's permanent. We're
Sound and
online
video.
forever. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for coming today and talking to us and just being an amazing man.
Oh, thank y'all so much for having me. I'm glad that we were able to make it happen while I'm here.
Yes. Hell yeah. Thank you, King Noire.